His hands moved right around my waist and gradually entering right inside my body. I needed them on me. I needed it so badly that every sensation of it made my inside wet and hungry. The thought was a desperate prayer I couldn't stop. A hunger that had been growing for 3 years like a silent, demanding disease. And this moment, I took hold of it. I wanted them all. Every inch, every thrust was a play I so much desire. How did I get here? How did this whole moment occur? I'm Sophia. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and my job as a chief financial officer for a regional investment firm means my life runs on spreadsheets, projections, and cold, hard facts. Everything is analyzed, managed, and controlled. But outside of work, my personal life is a liability. After my divorce 3 years ago, I thought I'd reclaim my time, my space, my pleasure. Turns out, my social calendar is full of bad dates and zero thrills. I'm going to lose my mind if I don't feel a real man's hands on me soon. The words came out too loud, too honest, breaking the comfortable silence that had settled between Sienna and me. We were on my velvet sofa, the empty wine bottles glittering softly in the low light of my living room. I didn't mean to confess my sexual frustration. I meant to complain about my last date, but here we were. Sienna didn't flinch. She's been my friend since college, my beautiful, unapologetic, utterly magnetic opposite. She always knows what to say, or more often, what not to say. She just watched me, a slow, knowing amusement playing around her mouth. I ran a hand through my hair, groaning, "It's worse than just bad dates." My ex, let's just say he was as exciting as a zero coupon bond. I thought being single would be fun. It's just empty. Sienna finally spoke, her voice low and even. "So, what's stopping you from fixing it?" I let out a harsh laugh. "Oh, sure. Let me just grab the nearest available guy and hope he's worth the trouble. I don't want anyone, Sienna. I want to feel wanted again. Claimed. I want connection that doesn't feel like a negotiation." I felt shame crawl into my throat, hot and bitter. I was a CFO. I should be able to manage this. Sienna put down her glass, the click against the coaster sounding loud in the room. She looked at me for a long time, the look of someone who had just reached a decision. "You know, I think I have a solution." My gut tightened. If you're about to suggest a dating app full of guys who think crypto was a personality trait, I swear. "Nope," she cut in, smooth as silk. She took a slow sip of wine, her eyes never leaving mine. Then she delivered the words that instantly changed the trajectory of my entire life. "You should borrow my husband." Hello, dear viewer. I know what you're feeling right now. That pull, that shock, the little voice screaming, "Stop." It's okay to be unsettled. But isn't the most compelling thing about life the decision to face the forbidden? Don't leave Sophia alone in this moment of vulnerability and desire. You need to see how she handles the pressure. Please hit the thumbs up, and if this story touches a nerve, share it with one trusted friend. See her through to the end. Silence. Absolute, ringing silence. I stared at her, certain I'd misheard the words. My mind tried to process the syllables. "I'm sorry, what?" She only shrugged, completely unfazed. "You heard me." I waited for the punchline, the smirk, the burst of laughter that would signal the joke was over. But Sienna just sipped her wine, her expression serene, as if suggesting I borrowed Julian, her calm, powerful, incredibly attractive husband, was the most casual thing in the world. "You can't be serious," I managed, the nervous energy making my voice higher than I wanted. "Why not?" Because that's your husband, Sienna." She shrugged again. "And?" I leaned forward, trying to inject some sanity into the situation. And do I really have to explain why that's insane? It breaks every rule, every social construct. It's betrayal. Sienna leaned closer, her eyes glittering with a hint of challenge. I think you're trying a little too hard to sound shocked, Sophia. You weren't exactly offended by the idea. You were just surprised. She was right. I was shocked, but deep beneath the surface, a dark, dangerous thrill was already taking root. I was surprised by the audacity of the offer, not the desire it sparked. A good friend, Sienna said, her voice turning softer, more persuasive, is one who actually cares about your suffering. I pressed my hand to my forehead, suddenly dizzy. You make it sound like I'm some tragic case. You said it yourself, she reminded me, her gaze steady. You're miserable, and you deserve better than empty nights. She paused, then pressed the core question. It's about trust, Sophia. I trust you, I trust him. What are you actually risking? I swallowed hard, my focus on the one rational obstacle left. Even if I was crazy enough to consider this, which I'm not, what about him? Does he even know you're saying this? Sienna's beautiful smile widened, slow and utterly devastating. Oh, honey, do you really think I make offers like this without checking first? A strange, hot coil formed deep in my belly. Wait, you mean he... She took another slow, deliberate sip of wine, savoring my reaction, delaying the inevitable. I told him earlier. He didn't exactly complain. A pulse of something electric, something overwhelming ran through me. I hadn't expected him to be a factor. The idea that Julian, the man I'd secretly admired from a distance for years, was already on board with this, it obliterated the last of my logical defenses. I let out a soft, shaky sound. Oh my God. Told you. She grinned. He's an incredible man, Sophia. And trust me, he knows how to take care of a woman. I'd never offer you anything less than the best. My mouth went completely dry. She set her glass down and leaned in, her voice dropping to a smooth, sensual undertone. So, tell me the truth. If you weren't overthinking it, if you just let yourself feel what you want, would you say yes? I should have laughed. I should have changed the subject, stood up and walked away. I should have said no. But I didn't. Because deep down, in the most primal, honest part of myself, I knew the answer. Sienna saw it on my face. She exhaled, satisfied. Thought so. I forced myself to breathe. This is insane. Maybe, Sienna agreed. But doesn't it sound exciting? I didn't respond. I couldn't. Sienna watched me closely, her finger hovering over her phone screen. Last chance. Tell me to stop, and I will. Silence. I parted my lips, ready to force out a word, any word that would stop the inevitable. But nothing came out. The yearning was too big. Sienna's smirk returned, a triumphant glint in her eyes. Then she tapped the screen. A single, silent message went out. Come now. She met my gaze, a smile spreading across her lips. He's on his way. The moment was suspended, thick with the scent of old wine and new, reckless desire. I sat frozen, staring at the phone Sienna had just put down, that one ping echoing the death of my old, boring life and the birth of something wild. Sienna stood, smoothing the line of her silk dress. She was composed, ready. My pulse hammered beneath my skin, completely out of sync with her tranquility. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body wouldn't obey. I was tethered to the sofa, waiting for the consequence of my silence. "Relax, Sophia," Sienna said, her voice calm. "Take a breath." I nodded, swallowing against the dryness in my throat. I had crossed a line, and now the universe was delivering the goods. I just had to wait for him. The wait was pure, exquisite torture, a mixture of agonizing fear and mounting, dizzying excitement. I ran through every memory I had of Julian, his solid frame, the quiet authority he carried, the way his hand rested possessively on Sienna's back during parties. He wasn't overtly flashy, but he commanded every room he entered. He's on his way. The thought was intoxicating. It didn't take long. In the suburban quiet of Santa Fe, the knock at the door sounded like a gunshot. It was firm, decisive, and signaled a man who knew his purpose. Sienna let out a slow exhale, a sound of deep satisfaction, then smiled at me. It was a conspiratorial smile, one that confirmed we were now bound by this electric, beautiful secret. She stood and walked to the door, her steps unhurried. I watched her open it, my blood roaring in my ears. And there he was, Julian. He was tall, powerfully built, standing in the doorway with an aura of absolute confidence. There was no rush in his movements, no obvious eagerness, but his eyes, they found mine immediately. It was a gaze that acknowledged everything that had just been decided without a single word. Laughed softly, looping her arm around him. "You're early." Julian's focus never wavered from me. He took a deliberate moment to look at me, from the top of my head to where I sat, rigid on the sofa. "Couldn't wait," he said, his voice a deep, resonant rumble that vibrated through the floorboards. Then, a ghost of a smile touched his lips, a look of profound approval that made my stomach flip. "You're even prettier than she said." The compliment wasn't flirtatious. It was possessive. It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact. "Told you," Sienna said, rubbing his arm proudly. "This is her, Julian. This is Sophia." His lips curved slightly in response. Not a full smile, but a slight expression of deep masculine satisfaction, approval. He released Sienna's arm and his eyes met mine again, holding my gaze. The intensity of it was overwhelming. Sienna turned to me, her hand extended in a graceful, almost formal gesture. "Shall we?" My breath caught in my chest. This was it. The absolute last chance to maintain my predictable life. The last moment to pretend I was shocked, to pretend I had already made up my mind hours ago. I looked at her hand, then at his strong, waiting presence. I didn't take Sienna's hand. I didn't have to, because before I could make a conscious choice, Julian reached for my other hand. His grip was firm, warm, and sure. It wasn't a gentleman's light touch. It was a claiming. He pulled me gently but decisively to my feet. Just like that, I was between them, held by him, ratified by her. I didn't walk away. I couldn't. Because before I could make a conscious choice, Julian reached for my other hand. His grip was firm, warm, and sure. It was a gentleman's light touch. It was a claiming. He pulled me gently but decisively to my feet. Just like that, I was between them, held by him, ratified by her. I didn't walk away. I couldn't. Because before I could make a conscious choice, Julian reached for my other hand. His grip was firm, warm, and sure. It wasn't a gentleman's light touch. It was a claiming. He pulled me gently but decisively to my feet. Just like that, I was between them, held by him, ratified by her. Sienna beamed, a vision of satisfied authority. "Let's go, baby." And just like that, with my hand in Julian's,
We moved together toward the closed door of the master suite.
To all my amazing supporters still watching, you have no idea how much your presence here lifts my spirits and validates the work I put into these stories. If this tale of love and emotion is resonating with you, please help us reach more hearts by sharing it in your Facebook groups, your online communities, and with your contacts on WhatsApp. Think of sharing as an act of kindness. You're introducing someone to a story that might brighten their day, touch their heart, or give them hope in their own romantic journey. Every share counts, every view matters, and every supporter like you makes this dream possible. Thank you for being part of this beautiful family we're creating together. Back to our story. The master suite door clicked shut behind us, isolating us instantly. My breath caught, suspended in the sudden, thick quiet. There was no pretense left, no social barrier to hide behind. Julian's hand left mine only to settle instantly on my waist. The warmth of his skin penetrated the thin fabric of my dress. There was no hesitation, no slow buildup, no uncertainty, just raw, immediate heat. He pulled me to him, my body pressing against his solid, powerful frame. His mouth captured mine. It was everything the last 3 years had been lacking, deep, demanding, and utterly unrelenting. Sensation rushed through me, so fast and so hot it made my head spin. I melted instantly into the kiss, my hands finding purchase on his chest, gripping the fabric of his shirt. This was it, the craving fulfilled, the honesty of a connection that didn't require small talk or polite games. He didn't just kiss me, he claimed the space, the moment, and my attention. I gasped into his mouth, the sound lost between us. His hands, firm and deliberate, roamed my back, settling low to cement the connection. He was focused, singular in his purpose, making me feel seen and desired with an intensity that bordered on overwhelming. Sienna's soft laugh echoed from behind us. It wasn't mocking, it was rich with amusement and profound approval. "Now that's better," she murmured. Her voice, usually so composed, sent a fresh thrill through me. I barely had time to register her presence before I felt her hands glide over my shoulders. They were a delicate contrast to Julian's firm grip, feather light, yet electric. A shiver ran down my arms. I was completely surrounded, completely lost in the dual sensation of Julian's powerful focus and Sienna's teasing proximity. Her fingers slipped beneath the straps of my dress, tracing the line of the fabric. I could feel Julian's warm breath against my skin as he moved his focus down to my collarbone. Sienna exhaled softly close to my ear. "You're stunning like this, Sophia." The dress strap slipped down my arms, pulling around my waist. I didn't care. I couldn't focus on anything but the immediate, primal urgency of the moment. Julian's touch moved lower, settling confidently on my waist, guiding me backward. I sank onto the plush mattress, my breath uneven, my pulse hammering a frantic rhythm. He followed, moving with unshaken assurance, his body a solid presence filling every part of my awareness. Sienna stepped back, the soft rustle of her dress signaling her movement as she settled onto a nearby chaise. "Go on, baby," she purred, her voice smooth and deeply teasing. Let her feel what I already know. A low sound rumbled in Julian's chest. His touch drifted lower, trailing heat in its wake. A wave of sensation rolled through me, pure and instinctive. My body responded instantly, arching into his touch. His hands held me steady, firm, measured, guiding me deeper into the consuming moment. Sienna hummed in approval. "Oh, sweetheart, you should see yourself right now." Heat flushed across my chest and face. I should have been thinking about the absolute madness of this, but thought had fled. I was completely lost in the spiraling pleasure, in Julian's unrelenting presence,
and in the way Sienna's voice sent an entirely new kind of thrill through the experience.
Sienna leaned forward slightly, her fingertips ghosted over my skin. "See?" she said, her voice dropping to a seductive promise. "I told you he was good." I barely heard her. I was chasing the sensation, needing more, needing to anchor myself in the raw, honest intensity of the connection. Julian's mouth found mine again, deep and possessive, stealing the rest of my breath. I felt completely taken, completely surrounded, completely adored. The intensity built too fast, every movement sending warmth spiraling through me. Sienna's lips brushed against my jaw, her touch firm and deliberate. "Breathe, Sophia," she commanded, her voice soft but insistent. "Feel every second of it." I shuddered beneath them, my body tightening, coiling. The pressure was rising, higher, sharper, every action pushing me closer to the edge of something inevitable, something I had waited 3 years for. Julian's hold tightened, drawing me deeper, pushing me toward that final dizzying peak. Sienna's mouth traced the line of my collarbone, her touch heightened every pulse of sensation. She wasn't just a friend anymore. She was a core part of the experience, a conduit for the pleasure Julian was delivering. "You're stunning like this," she repeated, her voice husky. I barely registered her words. I was too lost in the warmth, the pull, the steady, driving rhythm. I chased it, instinctively caught in the moment, completely overtaken. The world outside the room had ceased to exist. All that mattered was the weight of his body and the presence of her approval. Julian's hands were everywhere, confident and strong, ensuring that I was secure and utterly cherished. He moved with the unshaken assurance of a man who knew exactly what he was doing and exactly how much I craved it. The desire that had built over years of frustration was finally being released, unspooling in waves of consuming heat. Sienna's breath warmed my ear, her voice teasing, breathless. "Let go." I gasped, trembling as my body coiled one final time. Then her fingers squeezed mine, a grounding physical anchor as the world dissolved. The climax hit in waves, deep, endless, overwhelming. A soft, involuntary sound escaped me, the release unraveling every last ounce of control I'd ever possessed. Julian's hold tightened, consuming the final lingering currents of sensation. It was a complete and total surrender. Everything collapsed into warmth, into a breathless stillness. The aftershocks pulsed softly through me, leaving me weightless, completely unraveled. Sienna let out a lazy, satisfied sound. Her fingers remained gently tangled with mine, the quiet connection affirming the profound act of trust we had just shared. The silence that stretched was heavy, thick with the remnants of everything that had just unfolded. Her nails gently scraped across my skin, a slow, teasing afterthought. A soft chuckle escaped her. "Told you we'd take care of you." I couldn't move, couldn't even form a coherent thought. I simply breathed, deeply sated, fully undone, completely taken by the generous intimacy of both of them. Julian moved, shifting his weight but keeping a grounding connection with me. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. His steady presence was communication enough. I slowly opened my eyes, meeting his. There was no conquest in his gaze, only a deep, powerful satisfaction and a profound, quiet respect. He had fulfilled the prayer I didn't even know how to ask for.
Sienna leaned over, her face close to mine, her expression radiant. No shame, Sophia. Only honesty. That's what tonight was about. I finally found my voice, a raspy, weak sound. I can't believe. Believe it, Sienna cut in gently, kissing my forehead. Believe that you are worthy of this, and that your happiness is worth breaking a few outdated rules for.
Julian shifted again, pulling me gently against his side, cradling me. I rested there, feeling the steady beat of his heart against my ear, the ultimate physical proof of the night's events. The feeling was euphoric, part physical relief, part emotional liberation, part terrifying realization of the depths of my own suppressed desire. Sienna watched us, her expression calm and maternal in its way. She reached out and brushed a strand of hair from my cheek. Go to sleep, sweetheart. Rest. We'll talk when the sun comes up. I felt Julian's lips press softly against my hair, a simple gesture of warmth and finality. I sank into the mattress, too exhausted and too fulfilled to protest or even think. The darkness of the room wrapped around me, a comforting blanket woven with the lingering warmth of their touches. I was safe, utterly satisfied, and changed forever. The last thing I registered was the gentle, rhythmic sound of Julian's breathing beside me, an anchor in the storm of new emotions. I drifted into sleep, the weight of his arm a promise against my skin. I woke to the soft, dusty gold light of the Santa Fe morning filtering through the shutters. The air was cool now, smelling faintly of linen and a deep, masculine scent that was distinctly Julian's. I was alone in the bed. A wave of feeling washed over me, not regret, but a dizzying mix of sated relief and quiet disbelief. My body felt heavy, wonderfully relaxed, yet humming with a new latent energy. For 3 years, I had been running on emotional deficit. Now, I felt an abundance I couldn't quantify. I sat up, pulling the sheet to my chest. The sheets were rumpled, the pillows displaced, silent witnesses to the intensity of the night. I found my dress folded neatly on a nearby chair. It was a gesture of consideration, of care, that felt more intimate than any of the passion we had shared. Dressing slowly, my movements deliberate, I felt like I was inhabiting a different skin. The woman who had arrived here last night, frustrated, desperate, and guarded, was gone. I quietly opened the master suite door. The sound of soft conversation and the clink of porcelain drew me toward the kitchen. Julian and Sienna were there, sitting at the counter, already dressed. Julian wore a crisp shirt, already composed, nursing a mug of coffee. Sienna was leaning toward him, talking quietly, her posture of casual, profound intimacy. They looked like a couple on any quiet morning, except for the added layer of connection that now involved me. They stopped talking when I entered. Julian turned, his gaze meeting mine. There was no awkwardness, no furtiveness, only a simple, quiet smile, a nonverbal acknowledgement of what we had shared. It was a look of powerful satisfaction, entirely free of shame. "Good morning, Sophia," Sienna said, her voice warm, offering a mug of coffee. "Sleep well?" I nodded. My voice was still raspy. "Better than I have in years." I accepted the coffee, the warmth angering me. The atmosphere was calm, professional even, yet charged with the recent memory of our shared vulnerability. It was surreal, the calmness after the storm. "Sit," Julian offered, pulling out a stool for me. I sat, my hands wrapped around the mug. This was the moment for the reckoning, the defining of the new normal. Sienna spoke first, her eyes soft but direct. "I want to be clear, Sophia.
There are no regrets here. There are no strings, and there are absolutely no expectations. This was a gift of friendship, a moment of honesty. You were desperate for connection, and you got it. We trust you entirely. I looked at her, overwhelmed by the enormity of that trust. I don't know what to say. Thank you doesn't feel like enough. Julian spoke then, his voice low and steady. It was necessary, Sophia. You needed a release from that cage you had built around yourself, and you found a part of yourself you'd forgotten. He paused, holding my gaze. We simply facilitated the truth. His words resonated. It hadn't been about reckless abandon. It had been about recognizing and fulfilling a deep human truth. I realized that my friendship with Sienna hadn't been damaged by breaking the rules. It had been irrevocably strengthened by the shared audacity and profound care. I finished my coffee. The air had shifted from the erotic charge of the night to a warm, stable reality. It was time to go.
Julian stood and walked me to the front door. He didn't touch me, but his powerful presence was surrounding me. If you ever feel that need again, he said, his eyes conveying a promise I understood instantly. You know how to reach us. I nodded. I didn't need to ask for discretion. It was implicit in the man's character. I was leaving with the ultimate secret, a shared confidence that was stronger than any pact. I stepped outside and turned back. Sienna was standing behind Julian, her hand resting on his shoulder. They looked perfectly matched, perfectly content, their eyes watching me with a shared look of benevolent understanding. Go live, Sophia, Sienna said, her smile genuine. Don't wait another 3 years. I walked to my car, the rising sun of Santa Fe painting the mountains in brilliant hues of red and orange. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. I saw the face of a woman who was tired of the cold, hard facts of her balance sheet life. I saw the reflection of a woman who had chosen raw desire over polite regret. I was lighter, bolder, and forever changed by the generosity and honesty of my friends. I finally felt unlocked. Hi, viewers and listeners. The truest stories are those we are too afraid to share. Sophia's secret is now yours, a burning truth about desire, friendship, and the boundaries we choose to break. Did her choice liberate you, or did it push your limits? Comment below. We want your honest take. If this complex, breathtaking story of liberation resonated with the part of you that craves the forbidden, share it with one trusted friend who you know will understand. We'll be here when you need to explore the next episode of Desire. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories daily. See you in our next story.